I wonder what those strange sounds are. Where am I? Oh, hi, Miles.
Hi, Mark.
Gonna engineer another episode today?
I sure am.
Cool. This is Low Profile with Markley Morrison. And I'm here with Miles at Studio B, downtown Olympia. And I'm joined here for the very first time by my good friend Eli Moore.
Hi.
And for fourth time on the show, although only, this is your fourth time. This is Andrew Dorset.
For the very fourth time.
And I'm Markley, and today we are here to talk about, enjoy the music of Cleaners from Venus. And this is a cool band, right?
Very cool. Very cool.
Prolific.
Mysterious.
Very mysterious. Hopefully we're going to unveil some of that mystery today. Get inside the mind of Mr. Martin Newell.
I can't wait.
He's a songwriter and primary. He is the Cleaners from Venus, as far as I understand.
Yeah, I think there was one or two other official members. One person just went by the name Nelson.
Nelson. I know Nelson. Hey, listen to this.
It's a corridor of dreams that gave me everything I own. And I traveled around the world and I never really had a home. And the one thing I learned was I never want to be alone. I was looking. Well, there's friends that come in and there's friends that go out of my life. And things which occur when you balance on the edge of a knife. And I never considered the idea of taking a dive. But it was cooking.
Could just let that roll all day. I'm just going to bring it down a little bit, but I think that's the first song I heard by this group.
That's a good one.
Me too.
Really?
I think the first one where my ears perked up and I asked what it was.
Such a good song.
The first time you played for me the other day.
I-
I only heard Matt Newell a few days ago.
And then I guess it might be first time for a lot of the listeners here in this band, so
Lucky
we all
you.
have something in common here. We're all naked. And so I think, Eli, you're the one who told me about this band.
Okay. Yeah.
Me
Um,
too.
Okay.
And so you're in charge.
Yeah. Well, I think my first exposure was my roommate. I was living with Mary Jane Dunk,
Oh.
the singer, rock and roll singer.
At the Shamalama Ding Dong.
Shamalama Ding Dong,
Oh,
our
okay.
house in West Olympia, and she bought this record from some band that is on the same label. This is a reissue from the 80s, but it was another Captured Tracks band.
Was it? It might have been Naomi Punk.
Maybe, yeah.
They're a local
They're-
band that's on that label.
Okay, yeah, so she brought it home and was playing it, and I listened to it a lot, and that was where I learned about putting the record back in the sleeve when you're not listening to it. She asked me to do that
Oh yeah.
because I was listening to it so much, and ever since then I try to do that with my own records too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mary Jane.
It's best practices, you know.
Oh man, lesson learned. Yeah, I'm still working on that one. I'm pretty good about it, but my kids do not get that concept. They just they pull the records out and walk up to me with their sticky hands holding the vinyl, saying, "Papa, put it on." What's that? Oh, this is another song by the Cleaners from Venus. Turns out. Goodbye, Dreaming Fields. Actually, this is a
Debut solo record.
say again.
This is his debut solo record, I think.
Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
The first song on his first Martin Newell album. And let's bring it. There it is.
Shabby girl with shabby gown.
Sounds good.
Should I know your faces? Yes, maybe. You have always been around.
I think Andrew knows all the harmonies to this song.
Is that right?
I've sung along to this song quite a bit.
They don't come out. They don't come in for a while.
We'll get to that. So this one was produced by Andy Partridge of the band Ecstatic, XTC. And what, 1993? Came
Yeah,
out?
I think it
That's-
came out in 93 or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, not a lot of people were doing this in 1993, making good music.
I think this is like his most heard work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's considered like his kind of breakout record.
Ah,
Actually, a source of great authority, Wikipedia, confirms that
that,
fact. Yeah, it's his most well-known record.
Yeah.
How is it?
So sorry, everybody, if you've heard this a million times. We're just, just think of the other man.
For this tawdry serenade, nor your poor tin soldier.
What a guy, though. So, what do we know about this band, this project? He's like considered a pioneer of home recording in the UK, anyway.
That's as far as I know it. That's actually one of the things I'm most curious about is how from his perspective, how his home recording fits into the world of home recording. Because maybe he had mentors that we haven't even heard about, or or maybe he was a trailblazer.
so maybe we should say that just for the listeners. Pretty much all the Cleaners from Venus stuff that I'm aware of, he did himself, right? I mean, it's home recorded. Is that
Like
true?
on 4 tracks.
At least like the first, 5. I know that he got into the studio later, like he had a full band at some point in the 80s, but I don't even know, I can't really find those records. They'll squeeze some of those songs on greatest hits, but
Yeah, or
the
like
classic
maybe-
ones sound very home recorded.
And when were those classic ones? Early 80s? When did he start doing
Yeah,
that
I'd
stuff?
say early 80s.
81 to 88 or
Okay.
85 or 6 or, yeah.
It depends. I mean, it's hard to say what is classified as classic now.
Right.
But,
Right.
And how were they released back then? Like, did he self-release them, or how?
I think he just walked around with some cassette tapes that he, like, the artwork's usually like kind of like a colored pencil illustration.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you get the albums now on CD or vinyl, it's a picture of the cassette cover.
Okay, right. Yeah,
Like
it's been-
small, like cassette sized.
In a
on-
template.
Yeah, in a
Right.
little template with like just a solid colored background. That's what Captured Tracks has been doing anyway.
Yeah.
They released.
re-releasing it.
So they're a label and record store in some part of New York.
Mm-hmm.
And they released, I guess, like in the last decade at some point, they put out
All of them?
bunch,
Or-
maybe all. I know they put out like 3 box sets
Okay. Wow.
and then
Yeah, so
a bunch of
prolific.
individual albums as well.
Wow.
But
And I think to go back to your question about how he got rid of the tapes, it seemed like at the point, this is another thing that part of his whole story was he was kind of rebelling. He was anti-music industry.
Right.
So it was a way to avoid the music industry, and he would literally send them to everybody except for the record industries, and just kind of, try and get them in stores and
Oh wow.
on his own. But
I mean, did he send them to like zines? And
I mean, I think that was
journalists
just
and
right
stuff?
when zines were even getting started. But yeah, I would imagine that it probably got in. They probably got reviewed by Op at some point.
Mhm.
Oh, right, yeah.
That whole RSTV Op kind of home taping world that I don't know that much about, really.
I don't know that much about it either. I think so our Stevie Moore he's another guy that we're well acquainted with, that is the godfather of lo-fi home recording
In America, anyway.
in America anyway. I mean, hopefully I don't think anyone's claiming the global title.
Not yet. Yeah. That's what we're going to figure out today.
The lo-fi king of the world.
Yeah, who's the lo-fi king of the world?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, but it's just a whole can of worms. There's so much Cleaners from Venus music that we got to listen to some more. And I want to play the song "Only a Shadow."
Oh, such a good song.
Yeah, I just thought that'd be nice for everybody.
Yeah.
So here we go with "Only a Shadow," and this is from Midnight Cleaners, which that's one of the albums I own at home. This is what it sounds like. I love all these bass lines.
I know.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bass players.
And the guitar is kind of like the Smiths, only good.
Sounds like a Strat.
This is all done on 4-track? That's crazy.
I think he used an 8-track too.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I'd love to find some of this stuff, but
Yeah.
he had a portable studio.
Yeah, we got to ask him how many tracks he used.
And how many microphones,
Yeah.
Probably one at least.
Yeah, at least one.
Did you guys know that I think MGMT covered this song on their Day Trotter session?
No kidding.
Huh. Wow.
Never heard it, but I heard about it.
Shout out to Day Trotter.
Yeah, Day Trotter, if you're listening, hi.
Link in our
Yeah.
bio.
Hello.
Hashtag.
It's the time of year when a flower dies. It's a kind of night when a ghost will rise. Searching for a girl with the dancing eyes who could stay all day but leave next night. Instinct should have told me never worked out right. Now I'm very nervous, I leave on my life.
Some good like punk energy in this tune.
Yeah, the drums sound great.
Yeah, I like the whole thing,
Yeah.
the whole package.
It'd be so cool if we could somehow ask this guy a bunch of questions and find out more stuff about him, but I don't know if that's
in the cards.
in the
today.
cards for today. I mean,
Well, yeah, I bet you know how these guys are. They usually want to talk about their newer stuff.
right.
And
right.
so we've been mostly listening to Cleaners tracks from, back in the day. Back in the 80s. Hey, we got another Andrew in the house.
Andrew.
Hey.
We're just we're talking about the Cleaners from Venus.
Oh yeah, aren't they the band from? They're not from the Kids in the Hall, right?
No, that would have been cool though.
From,
That's some shadowy people on the shadow planet.
You know, it's funny you say that, though, because I was thinking Cleaners from Venus today sounds like shadowy men from a shadowy
A little
planet,
bit,
and I was
yeah.
wondering if they knew each other at all. But
Huh.
that was just like a private thought I had earlier.
Oh, they have the same queen.
That's true.
So, maybe that's where
They
the
both have
influence come
pictures
from.
of her in Parliament.
It's true. It's true. Mr. Martin Newell has sent me some songs that he's working on for his upcoming release. He put out. It looks like he put out a couple albums last year,
Right. Yeah.
and those are really nice too. This is the title track from an album that he put out in 2018, and it's called "Life in a Time Machine." And I'll be damned if it doesn't still sound like Cleaners from Venus.
Same guitar.
Oh, I was like, that was a strange change. This is my computer doing a remix. This is all of a sudden Milltown Girls, which is a song from an upcoming Cleaners from Venus. This is world premiere, folks.
You were still a Milltown girl. Then every time I saw your face, you were the one. I knew you were the one. But every day, so distant then, miles away, a cloud covers the sun.
You know what, computer? That was actually a pretty tactful choice on your part. It worked. It was a good transition.
Came in right at the chorus.
Yeah, really didn't see that one coming. But I was planning to share that song, so good job, computer. What do you guys think?
I think this stuff sounds great, and we should do a podcast about him.
Yeah. I
All
agree.
right. What are you doing later?
Yeah.
No, nothing.
I was planning on barbecuing.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you guys hungry?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I will be.
I will be.
Okay. Maybe we should call Mr. Martin Newell
Oh man.
and talk to him.
Where are we calling him? Where does he live?
I don't know. I think he might be at work.
Okay.
He said he was on kitchen duty. I'm not sure what that means. He sent me an email.
I think he lives somewhere on the east coast of England.
Okay.
Maybe kind of like southeast or.
Yeah.
So, like,
I know it's basically we're right in between his kitchen duty and his bedtime. So
maybe
before we
Bristol.
call him, we got to hear this song called "Helpless," right?
Yeah.
I think so.
What's this album called? Blow
Blow your troubles away.
Blow away your
Blow
troubles.
away your troubles. I think this is the first Cleaners from Venus album.
Oh wow, so we're going from the future to the beginning.
I'm seeing you later. Don't take bets 'cause you're not insured. Don't give up 'cause you'll only get hurt. See someone and leave next day. Don't think twice 'cause if you stay, you're helpless. Don't take bets 'cause you're not insured. You're the only one that means something to me. I don't know if I'm ever gonna stop loving
so sweet. Also, I guess I don't really want to talk about, oh, it sounds like this or that. They reminded me of like kind of like a little more elaborate Guided by Voices or something when I first heard them.
Yeah.
More kind of like more direct or more yearning or emotionally.
I think just less drunk.
The lyrics are more sober.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. I love Guided by Voices too. I'm not gonna.
I like being drunk.
Yeah.
I like being sober too. That's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
Wow. Well, I think we're gonna make that transition pretty soon here.
Let's call Martin.
We're gonna call Martin on the phone.
Oh my gosh.
On the telly, as my mom told me they called it. But that's not what they call it. On the mobile.
On the mobile.
Yeah, we're gonna ring him on the mobile. Quicker than you can say Bob's your uncle.
Squishy.
Good evening.
Good evening, Martin.
Hi. Can you got me all right? Have you?
Yeah, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. But am I broadcast quality?
It sounds
Yeah.
like
Sounds
it sounds
good.
pretty good on our end.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. I've got the sound of a room, but then I have been recording all day, so I sent you 2 tracks as well.
Yes. Yeah. We just we listened to the what was it? The
Milltown Girl or
Milltown Girl.
Oh, I sent you Milltown Girl, did I? Right. Okay. I couldn't remember because I was finishing off another track, a more difficult track, and I decided not to. I think I decided not to send that because I was still mixing it. But it's sounding really good now. So
Yeah,
there
it
you go.
sounded great.
So
Yeah.
you've got Milltown Girls and what's it called?
James Thorne.
James Thorne. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kimberly Rue really likes that.
Yeah, we haven't listened to that one on the show yet, but we'll be
All right.
premiering that later in the episode. So.
Well,
Yeah.
when is this one going out?
Oh
'Cause
goodness.
when it-
I would guess that this one will probably come out maybe in late June.
Oh, that's right. As long as you give me notice, and I'll put it up on Facebook and put links up to it, so you get maximum coverage. So,
Lovely.
That
Yeah.
sounds great.
I mean, I don't know anything about you. It's a podcast, isn't it?
It sure is. Yeah. It's
It's quite an established one, is it? Because I've only been doing my podcasts for I don't know, a couple of years or something. So I just do a bit of music. I do a half-hour one.
oh yeah.
They don't loom large in my life, so
Yeah.
well, not my podcast don't.
Yeah. You want to plug that? What's it called, Martin?
Oh, Martin Newell's Oddcast.
Yes. With an E at the end, isn't it?
Yes, it is, because we had the Oddcast, and something happened where I don't know what they did, but they made me a separate account. And I kept posting it, and I had to take the account down in the end. And the only way I could avoid the confusion with the redundant account was to put an E on the end of it. That seemed to fox the computer wizard or something, and so I got my... And not only that, but I can also see a thing to switch accounts. So when it ever tries to put me back in a redundant account, which I can't sort of manage to delete, then I know how to switch it back. So I can do their magic, but they can't do mine.
Right.
That's good. Yeah, I'm here with my good friends Andrew and Eli. Andrew and I used to run a record label, or a cassette label, rather.
Oh, right.
Called Brown Interior, and we lost our domain, spelling it the American way, so we added a U to interior and established a new domain. So...
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Except the computers are easily fooled still at the moment. it's easy to fuck them up. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe for not too much longer, but at least for now.
Yeah, we've got the upper hand for the time being.
As an older gentleman, I like that sort of thing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I like it when sheer obstreperous age can defeat a computer.
Speaking of, you are an older gentleman in this, especially in this medium, and your song "The Jangling Man," you mentioned about they haven't been as angry as this since 1381, and I just thought maybe for our listeners you could tell people what it was like back then.
Very good.
They're breaking glass and burning buildings in the early greenhouse sun. The powers that be will blame extremists, and I may well be one. Yes, I may well be one. And oh, what tireless ghost is smiling as a brooming he looks on. They haven't really been this angry since 1381. Since 1381.
Well, 1381 was actually the date in England of the Peasants' Revolt.
Oh.
And the Peasants' Revolt. Shame on me, I can't remember the name of the king. I think it was one of the Richards. But it emanated from this area, from Essex. Now, Essex is to London what New Jersey is to New York.
Okay.
Okay.
There's some context.
It's seen as kind of like a little bit rough and all the rest of it, but New York comes up with this, and they, I suspect a lot of people who supposedly come from New York don't actually come from New York; they actually come from somewhere else.
Right.
Like because New York can big it up all they like, but in the end, New Jersey has Bruce Springsteen and it has Frank Sinatra, and there's fuck all they can do about that.
That's right.
It's true.
That's right.
And it's like London, and like London can say what it likes, but but Essex has Ian Dury and Dr. Feelgood and Billy Bragg and for that matter me. So
That's right.
There you go.
they can deal with that. And Depeche Mode, they came from Essex. They were pure mid-county Essex.
Wow.
Is that book?
So
Is that book the the Peregrine? Is that from Essex as well?
absolutely, you know about that one, do you?
Yeah. Very beautiful.
Wow,
book.
yeah, that's very popular with the kind of the new wild writers, the hipsters of writing. We used to call it nature writing when I was a kid, and it wasn't remarkable because most of the people still lived in the country. but that's why there was a peasants' revolt, because it's, as usual, it's the big important metropolis thinking that that's all there is, the big important metropolis. And then suddenly they realise there's the countryside, so they go out and do a few lessons on it, and then they do a few lessons on how to write about it, and then they come back into the country and tell us all how it is and where we're going wrong, why we should be caring about it more. They tell hoary old farmers who've been, up to their knees in pig shit for forever, and there's these people sort of prancing about in their cities like a clothes telling farmers where they're going wrong. The farmers don't like it, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Unfortunately, they're not allowed to throw pitchforks at them anymore, so... Not even 4-tine muck forks. So, no, anyway, are we doing this interview now? Because I'm probably saying a whole load of incriminating things at the moment. So.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. We won't tell anybody what your name is.
No. Yeah. I'll never eat polenta in this town again.
Oh, so have you been keeping count? How many Cleaners from Venus albums are you up to at this point?
Well, I know that when there was a documentary crew here, they said, "Do you know how many albums you've made?" And I said, "I don't know, probably about 25 or 30." And I got them all down. I had to get old vinyl from the attic because that's how old I am. Vinyl from first time around, and it was 40 then. But I have reason to think it might be a bit more than that. It could be about 45 or maybe more, but I usually underestimate. Because I know it depends. Some people don't count cassettes as albums, but of course they were albums, but they were on a cassette format.
Yeah.
But at the time, certain people laughed at me, and I said, "Well, I'm not playing your game, and actually cassettes. I brought out cassettes, and we started selling them, and nobody took it really seriously. And now of course, people do. I seem to have quite a young following,
Yeah, today.
because all the people of my age are playing blues, especially white folks. They're playing black blues.
Right.
Right.
I don't know what the deal
What's
is.
up with that?
English folks who used to work for Inland Revenue, or what you would call internal revenue, they get their retirement package and they buy an important guitar. Then they sit around the pub talking about blues guitars and people who've got names like, Deaf Boy McDufferson or something like that, trying to outdo each other with.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
People, they, for all the world, then they turn up dressed like carpet fitters in the local pub, and play a sort of a pallid version of the blues. And I'm very unpopular for saying bad things about them. But they're not. Unfortunately, they're also too fat to catch me, so they can fuck off, can't they?
Well, we're going to have to mention that this is an explicit episode. Oh, so now with the Cleaners from Venus...
I don't actually like British blues very much, but there are some good British blues bands here. In their defence, I will say that. And the east of England kind of is the home for it. There's some really great blues bands come out of Ipswich, for instance, at the South End. But it's just too many middle-aged guys playing the blues.
True.
Yeah.
True here as well.
I just don't. I just can't. Actually, I can believe that everybody's unhappy that they can play the blues with any authenticity, but I'm not particularly unhappy.
Right.
Yeah.
Your songs do reflect. I feel like a lot of your music is based on your own experience. I don't know very much about you, but I feel like we get a glimpse into your life through the lyrics.
Yeah, there's like a
Yeah.
directness
What do you do? Because I write about what I know. It was like what Hemingway said. You should write about what you know and not too goddamn much of it. Was it him who said that? But I do write. I'm sort of pretty soaked in England. Some people have accused me of being soaked in an England that doesn't exist anymore, and there may be some truth in that too. But I'm perfectly aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
But I live in the provinces.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in London.
Yeah.
And I live where I live, and I thought, look, for me, music is a cottage industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, well, when people weren't very nice about me in the 70s and the early 80s, say, well, they couldn't see whatever vision I had, however skewed that was. I thought, well, if they won't let me in the game, I'll have to start my own game, a little game, and just sell the music from the back door of my cottage and make it on cassettes, I'm going to have to recognise the fact that I may never make any money or ever get famous from doing music. Now, what do I want? Do I want fame and money, or do I want music? Which of these three do I love? And I thought, music. Let's keep the music, and if it's going to be any good, anything that comes off it is a bonus, but let's keep the music, because I know that other people's vision for my music was to do with money and fame, and you're never going to get anywhere unless you do this. And I thought, I'm not doing that. I want to make English cottage music. So that's what I did. And eventually, it's worked, because other people who live in other cottages in other countries have sort of found some kind of resonance with it. I don't know. That's what I think has happened.
Yeah.
So for you, start beginning to record from home was a way to do music the way you wanted
ironically,
to.
I have to thank the Japanese for this, because the Japanese, my first ever home recording machine anyway was a Sony TC630, a sound-on-sound 7-inch quarter-inch tape reel machine. You couldn't even do stereo with it, but you could bounce from head to head. And then in 1980, I think it was, I got the Porter Studio, and it was a 4-track, and it cassette format 4-track, and I just thought, in theory, I now have the same facilities that the Beatles had up until about 1966 or 7, up until about 67. I'm saying, so what I need to do... what I need to do is make a kind of backyard garden shed, backyard garden shed, not Sergeant Pepper, but a Rubber Soul at least, something like that. In theory, I could do. Of course, I didn't have decent mics. Where the bass was homemade, but you know, we had to start somewhere.
The bass was homemade?
Yeah.
Yeah, it had been made. The bass that I used on most of those early Cleaners things were made by a bloke called Karl Szymanski, who was a Polish-Scottish bass guitarist who brought up in Colchester, but he was a mechanic, an electronic engineer at Marconi in Chelmsford. He was a bit of a boffin like that, but he was also a bit handy. He was a bass player in Plod, the glam rock band I joined.
wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. You know, you've always got one guy who can take the back off an amp and know what it means.
Right.
You know, and he was that. And I was the person who could take the back off a woman's makeup box and know what that meant, you know.
Wow. You know, those bass,
Yeah,
those bass
meant
lines
free
sound
lipstick
great.
and mascara, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So when you started...
A lot of 20-year-old Englishmen were very interested in that sort of thing at that time. And as Mick Jagger once said, you know, generally an Englishman doesn't have to be asked twice to get into a frock.
That's good.
Oh.
So was there any one else at the time or in your community or that you knew of who was making home recordings, or were you the first? Were you blazing your own trail?
I think other people were doing it. Slightly older guys than me, guys who were maybe 6 or 7 years older than me, who were, you know, of the hippie generation, were, you know, if someone who'd made a bit of money off a record might buy a Revox. But there wasn't much in the way of studios when I started. If you wanted to just buy some time in a 4-track recording studio, it would be quite expensive if you were a broke musician who was working part-time gardening or you know, or washing dishes. You know, it was something I always wanted to do, but there was a studio in Cambridge that offered a deal where you could have a whole day and a half in there, and it would be about 300 quid, but 300 quid would have been about 2 months' wages in those days for a very broke musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would have to be a band effect, but I could never sell the idea to the band I was with. I said, look, guys, why don't we pool our money, use some of the gig money, and we could go and buy a day and a half. If we really planned it, we could make a single, we could knock out a single, and then we could sell it at gigs. But even then, it was a bridge too far because people just didn't do that in 1976.
At least
I mean,
on
we
your
were
own,
only...
yeah.
So how did
Yeah,
your band Plod recorded at least a single, right?
We recorded six tracks, and we recorded incessantly. Once I got my Sony TC630 and learned to use it, but that wasn't good enough. But then we got someone who was interested in us, and he gave us a day in London. So we got up very bright and early one morning in early '75, I think it was. We got to the studio about 1977. So we got to the studio, you know, bright and early. We ate a greasy breakfast as Englishmen do. And we went into the studio, and of course we'd rehearsed recording because we knew we were going to put these numbers down, and we thought, we better be really tight as an ass chuff, you know, we better be really, really good.
Yeah, you want to make
so
the
we
most
rehearsed.
of your time.
We rehearsed every night, you know. We didn't have any gigs in the middle of the winter, so we rehearsed in a hut every night for 2 weeks. Rehearsed nothing but the 6 numbers. Of course, we went into the studio, and the engineer said, who are you guys? Where do you come from? You know, he said, oh, we come from Colchester, which is kind of like saying you come from Moose Dong, Nebraska, or something like that, you know.
I love your parallels.
Is there a place called Moose Dong, Nebraska?
I hope so.
I don't know, but it would be. I mean, it wouldn't be anywhere, you know, near a big city.
Sure, yeah.
Sure.
So we're from Colchester, and we were a really tight little glam rock band, and we made these records. The unfortunate thing is that anything you hear by Plod wasn't from the main masters, only because I snuck a cassette out of there. I begged for a cassette, and eventually I got not even a great cassette because they were very loath to relinquish anything that we could have taken away until we'd signed some stuff. So, you know, and of course everything collapsed as things do in the music industry. And years later, I unearthed this thing, and an Italian label. I think somebody cleaned the tapes up a little bit, but the best example of what we did is on YouTube. It's called Neo City.
Let's take the auto to Neo City, yeah. And soon enough we'll be there in the sun. Brown and silver tip, you look so pretty, yeah. We'll take our leisure bills and have some fun.
And that, even now, I'm immensely proud of that, because I wrote that when I was 20, you know, and I was still a bit of a mess then, you know. I've been a bit fond of this and that, inhaling this and taking that and doing all the rest of it, and I was in recovery from that, and of course all my considerable creativity and energy got poured into writing songs for this new band that I just loved being with, and I don't think we knew what we'd got. We'd got something really good. We just were too clumsy to know how to go about. Because give us another year and a bit more studio time, we could have probably been the formidable contenders. But then there's loads of stories in the music industry like that. So I don't think we're unique or anything. But they were good songs.
So, Cleaners from Venus came around. How? And also the name. Where'd you get that band name from?
Lol Elliott, the first drummer with the Cleaners from Venus, and the co-creator of the Cleaners from Venus with me, a lovely northern lad who I met, my co-conspirator. He says he came up with it.
Okay.
Actually, we can't remember, but I give him the benefit of that doubt, you know, because we did think of some stupid names. He definitely came up with the Brotherhood of Lizards. I mean, we wanted to be called the Misterons. We both thought that was a good name, but we found some other band had that, you know?
Oh, man, that's a real trick.
Well, you know.
And then for about 5 minutes we were the Soft Humans. Then one night, either Lol or me said either in the Black Boy or the Rose and Crown or the Station or the Park Hotel or whatever pub we were in, someone came up with Cleaners from Venus, and I thought, yeah, that could work.
Yeah, it's got a nice ring to it.
But it wasn't a career decision because we didn't have much gear. We had junkyard gear, and we had my Sound on Sound machine. We just started every Monday recording these songs. And people who listened to it, because they were all either old hippies or the beginning of radical new punk, they listened to this stuff and I think they thought we were damaged. I think they thought we were what we call damaged goods, you know. They looked at it. And the people who had a university of education, say, had more than 3 books on their shelves, and none of them about James Bond. You know, those kind of people. You know, educated people. You know, people who shine their shoes and can drive round corners without sticking their tongue out. and those kind of people, educated people. You know, they just looked at us with incomprehension in their eyes. They just said, what are you doing this for? And we thought it was great. We thought it was fun, especially things like Swinging London off the first cassette. You know, there's a track called Swinging London.
The clothes they wore, the things they saw, from Carnaby, everything they say, swinging London, seems so far away, swinging London, yesterday.
I mean, it's terrible sound quality, but it begins. You can hear my voice shouting something. I'm actually shouting in a kind of Muppet voice. I'm shouting something like, "I'm roasting an ox in my closet."
Oh! Speaking of,
this would have been really fun. You know, you can hear on the beginning of Only a Shadow, I shout something like the Special Carpet Sketch.
What?
This is the Special Carpet Sketch because previously, when we tried to record something, I'd got a contact high from Lowell because I didn't really take a lot of drugs by this time, but I'd have the odd toke of a joint or something. But Lowell used to be very fond of mushrooms and all sorts of hallucinogenic stuff.
I don't think you get a contact high from mushrooms.
Does that stuff grow
No,
out in England?
no, but he came. No, not physically, but mentally, because we were good friends. And he came round and he was tripped out, and I was just kind of probably, as usual, hungover. And it was a Monday morning, and we were both cleaners, so we didn't work on Monday mornings. And so we used to record. And he came round one day, and all kinds of bad things happened, like a glass of water got knocked over on some tapes. You know, someone banged into a thing, and finally, just when you thought we were beginning to get it together, we had a kerosene heater, and I was not paying attention to what I was doing and fell over that, and two things happened. The paraffin heater fell over. The paraffin came out of the paraffin heater because it was an old paraffin heater, went over the carpet, and the wick set fire to the carpet. Fucking hell, the carpet's on fire. I mean, this is my house where I lived with my girlfriend. And okay, it wasn't great, but she wouldn't have been very pleased if she'd come in and seen me surrounded by fucking flames. So we got this thing put out, you know. We didn't do it with water. It went because paraffin, you know, it looks a bit volatile, but it's not volatile like petrol. If it had been petrol, we'd been in trouble. But with this thing went out, and the carpet wasn't even damaged, and I was just thinking it's all going wrong today. And just to finish it off, I said we better clean up that one track there. Pressed the record and bulk erased 30 seconds of everything we'd done that day. Oh, God. Bulk erased it, rendering the track useless. I mean, that was the day me and Lowell still talk about. You know, he says, "What happened that day?" I said, "Don't ask me. I didn't have anything." You know.
Wow. Yeah. You know, that kind of shit doesn't happen in the recording studio. You don't get those kind of stories from hiring an engineer and. You know, I think it breathes life into the songs.
I don't think that sort of thing happens in say, the Oval Office either, but well it might.
Yeah,
it might.
It's probably got more chance of happening now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Could I mean I think if that happened, nobody would bat an eye.
Does Donald Trump use kerosene heaters then?
I wouldn't be surprised, Martin.
Neither would I.
Hey,
maybe he dries his hair on them.
Hey, what can you tell me about Schmoody Patootie?
Hi there. This is Mr. Schmoody Patootie saying, "Stay close to the walls, kids. We're going underground."
Well, he was a kind of, you know, like one of those cheap animations you get. I imagined him as I thought we'd have a cartoon character introduce tracks. I think, was that Living with Victoria Gray? So I hijacked some music from somewhere, some old vaudeville music. And then I imagined this guy with a made up, like your kid will bring home. You know, I made a model at school today, Dad. You know, and it's made out of a potato and 4 matchsticks with a bit of lipstick painted on it or something like that. And I just thought it'd be a character like that, something the Bulgarians used as an animated series before the communist bloc came down. You know, and you know, with an incomprehensible name, and I just thought he'd be called Mr. Schmoody Patootie, and he'd have one of these voices like that, you know, like one of these, like, you know, jump up and down and keep yourself fit. that sort of thing. And remember, kids, you know, it's harder to rub toothpaste over your legs than put a green fluorescent towel on your head. That sort of thing, you know. I don't know, Lowell and I used to find this stuff endlessly funny.
Oh yeah, no, it's I listen to your music sometimes at my workplace, which is a very busy bakery, and anytime Schmoody Patootie shows up, you know, we get a little bit of relief because some people have to clear out. It's so I really appreciate it. And I think it's hilarious.
The other thing was we had the University Challenge music, but I mean, there was a version where it was a Paul Young song doing a Marvin Gaye. Paul Young singing "Wherever I Lay My Hat, That's My Home." Do you know this song? It was a big hit.
That's a good one.
I'm thinking of.
Wherever I lay my hat, that's my home. But there was times when I thought it would be great if we sang it in a kind of like Kermit the Frog, you know. So this was nothing never made it. With a look in your eye, I can tell you're gonna cry. Is it over me, Miss Piggy? Like that, you know. And, you know, that kind of. There were many things that didn't make it onto the tape.
It's a shame. But well, now the listeners can hear it here. You know.
Yeah, you know, because I would just, I don't know. There was just, you just got bored sometimes, and I mean, for some reason, there's a voice spun in there somewhere on one of the end of the tracks, and we don't know where it came from. It's probably me, but it's like we sped the voices up, but it sounds like Porky Pig, you know. And just at the end of a track, and then this voice spins in out of nowhere in between the tracks saying, "And if you mess about with all the juxtapositions, what do you know? You got to plan it." And me and Laura were just looking at it and said, "Where the fuck did that come from?"
Yeah.
Wow. Probably another contact.
Yeah, we just didn't know. It was like, you know, it was fun though. It was fun and it was funny.
Yeah,
it was just
like
funny
you
the
guys were
whole
just
time.
having a good time.
We didn't think anything was ever going to get released, and finally, when we had 40 tracks, I said, "Do you know, we've got about 40 tracks here. How many can you fit on a cassette?" And we thought maybe 25 or 26. So we made one up, sent it to one of the music papers who were running cassette columns then, and people sort of started sending little requests in, and we sold about 50 of them. And Lowell had to go out and steal a whole load of cassettes, you know, to put them on because we didn't have any money. And he got caught one day, and so this was like something out of Monty Python. So Lowell, I didn't say Lowell. I said, "Lowell, we can buy some cheap cassettes," but he, being more of an anarchist than me, just went out and systematically looted liberated. I believe he called it. But he found some cassettes. Yeah, so he got these cassettes, and we copied he copied the things onto them. So, and so he said, then we can give them away, so we don't make any money off it. This was an ideal to be. I thought an ideal to be striven towards. We made a bit of money from it, but no. So we got these cassettes, and one day he got arrested.
Oh no!
He just absolutely gone into a shop and taken 2 cassettes because it wasn't a very big shop, I think. He was arrested by the store detective, and then the police found him. And when they searched him, they found a quarter ounce of dope on him as well.
Oh no!
And the policeman said, "What's this?" And Lowell said, "Oh, I was wondering where that was." He said it went missing ages ago. So they took him down to the police station. This is coming out in a forthcoming book, actually, and they fingerprinted him 18 times and snapped him. This other policeman came in and said, "You're the one, are you?" And Lowell said, "I suppose I must be." So they took him off and they photographed him loads of times. He thought it was a bit strange for just a little bit of dope and stealing 2 cassettes. This is a petty crime, you know. It's not grand larceny or anything, is it?
Okay.
So then the first policeman comes back in the room and says to the second policeman, "What are you doing with this is the man I arrested?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Isn't he something to do with that IRA terrorism cell?"
Oh my God!
And he said, "No, he's just a shoplifter, and I found a bit of dope on him," sort of thing. And so the second cop goes, "Oh," and looks at Lowell and says, "Why didn't you say anything?" And Lowell said, "You never asked." So after that confusion was cleared up, they gave him a statement sheet to sign, and Lowell wrote on it, he wrote, "It's a fair cop. Society is to blame."
Wow.
Which is something. And so he gets released, and he's late for the cleaning job, and and then a couple of months later, he comes up in court, and he gets £25 fine on both charges.
So he was a cleaner.
Yeah, we were both. He was working as the restaurant cleaner, and I was working as the restaurant plongeur, the washer up, the guy who drags the wine around and washes the dishes, and cleans the restaurant in the morning quickly before the customers get in.
Oh, coworkers.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
had a lot of
I got him-
coworkers on this show, honestly, because
I got him the job. I got him the job as the afternoon cleaner, and he got a bit of extra work as well. You know, it was all the heavy duty stuff. Like you had to take the Ventaxia fan out of the window, get all the grease out of it, and clean the blades. I showed him how to take it apart and things like that. You know, because you can take them apart, and you need to put them back together properly, or the chef gets cross.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's the way it goes.
But yeah, we were in our 20s. You know, we were a couple of no good nicks, but we were at least doing an honest job for a few days a week.
And you were on dish duty tonight too?
I was on what?
Were you on dish duty tonight? You had to do the
Tonight?
dishwashing. You said you were the kitchen duty, or
No, only for my partner. No, I haven't worked in a kitchen for decades.
No, that's what I thought. I was saying, you're cooking dinner tonight,
she
right?
cooks for me. She lives, up the road, and I sometimes eat at her house, but at weekends usually. She eats down here, so I'm cooking.
What did you make for dinner tonight?
Kedgeree.
Oh,
It's an old British colonial dish. It's a mixture of British food and Indian food. It's kind of like, it's rice and haddock and peas and hard-boiled eggs all chopped in, and it's got some curry powder in there as well.
That sounds great.
And then a salad to go on the side.
nice.
Are you big on cooking?
Yeah, very-
Has that been a constant thing for you, making good food?
Well, I can cook, and I worked in restaurants, so I picked up a few tricks, but I'm not a foodie. Do you have that word in American?
Yeah,
We
totally.
do.
I'm not a foodie. I think that's really decadent, being a foodie.
Right? Yeah.
I try and eat sensibly and eat what I can and eat stuff that's locally sourced, like, no haddock go past the window or anything, but I try and make sure it's local fishermen have caught them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good policy.
I
to
just
have.
try not to consider. I've always been like that. They're old sort of punk hippie ideas. Suddenly the rest of the world's caught up with it just when we're about to become extinct, but...
Yeah.
I have
I've always been like that. I mean, it's partly occasioned by the fact that we had no money, and it's a sensible way to live.
Right.
You can eat well for not much money, and you can eat sensibly, and you don't have to strain the planet too much.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to give a green, political broadcast or anything.
No, but I think it ties into your music. Like you were talking about, cottage sort of music. Like local home-brewed type of thing. That's super valuable.
That was a really big deal, making homebrew. Yeah, the whole thing was fueled by on homebrew.
Yeah.
I was doing that way back in the 70s.
Oh wow.
Out of necessity, I thought, look, this beer is getting, it wasn't expensive then, but it was still too expensive for me to go to a bar every night. So I figured, we could make some beer. And I found you could buy these kits, but the kits weren't good. So I went a bridge further and found this book on how to brew beer, and it really ain't rocket science. There were just a few hard and fast rules, and that anyone could make one decent beer. So I get the hops and the malts and boil them up, and I talked to the guy in the homebrew shop, and I made some really quite good beer, and I just made one beer that I could make the same quality every time, and that's what we had. Newell's homebrew, Young and Vicious, it was called.
Yum.
It was punk rock beer, but it was good. It was only about 4.4%. It was beer strength.
No, that's all you need.
I could have made it stronger if I wanted, I mean, I could just bung some extra sugar in like that the rest of the goons did. So you're drinking syrup that gives you a terrible headache and upsets your stomach as well. But I wanted to make good quality, clear beer. I found how to clear it out and everything, and to rack it like you would rack a wine. Mm-hmm. And eventually I was making gallons of it, and I became a very popular boy.
Oh, wow.
I bet.
Yeah.
Now, hey, I don't know this because I couldn't find any. Sometimes when I like a band, I try and look up and find any live performances that might have been captured over the years. Did the Cleaners from Venus play gigs?
We did some
tour?
gigs. We did some gigs. Yeah, but Lol and I didn't. But Lol and I never played a live gig together, I don't think. But me and Giles did, and various incarnations of bands have, going under the Cleaners name have done it and played Cleaners from Venus songs. I mean, I had a really good band in Japan in 1994.
Ah.
And that was and that had Dave Gregory from XTC, Captain Sensible and Gary Dreadful from The Damned, and Newell from New Model Army. That was a hell of a band. I was not worthy, as you would say in
Was
America.
he on the drums?
Who?
From the Gary from The Damned.
Gary Dreadful, yeah, he was on the drums. He was a real tub thumper as well. He was good.
Play,
he was
you might know about this. I mean, this is kind of an aside, but he might have played on a song I really like that Nick Lowe put out, a single from the Tartan Horde. Have you ever heard that? It was like a fake Bay City Rollers fan club band. I think he played the drums on that song. That was...
Well, Gary, he might have done.
I think
but
so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know he played on some of the Damned records.
Yeah, he's a great drummer.
Yeah, he's a good drummer, yeah. And Nell was a pretty fine bass player. And Captain Sensible is just he's a wicked guitarist, I mean, he can be Jimi Hendrix good on a good night.
Oh, wow.
Whereas Dave Gregory is a really, he's an excellent all-rounder guitarist. Loads of musicians admire him. But Captain Sensible can get wild. He just sometimes, I've just seen him when he's really let go, and he's kind of an amazing guitarist.
Right.
It is only known by people who have seen him live.
Now,
It's not known by people who sit in armchairs criticising it.
Was that a tour for the Greatest Living Englishmen?
It kind of was, yes. I did some gigs round about that time, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of pressure on me to tour, and eventually the record company said, "We've got you ever such a nice band," and they had. I couldn't refuse it. It was all my friends and people I really liked. I mean, Nelson from New Model Army, the Brotherhood of Liz and the Cleaners from Venus. I mean, he's a Colchester boy, and we've known each other forever. And he's just great. He's like a great all-rounder. You can put him on whatever you put him on, he's going to be good. I can possibly play keyboards a little better than him, but that's not saying much. And he can play everything else better than me. And he's and then Captain Sensible and Dave Gregory in the same band. That was fucking amazing.
Sounds amazing. And there's a record of that, right? It's out.
Yes, there is a live in Japan.
Yeah.
But I'd lost my voice, but there's some great playing on it. I don't like live records, and I don't like hearing myself live. So I've heard it maybe once, but I'm a real studio rat. I'm a studio creature.
So just to clarify a question I've always had, so the first few Cleaners records, I was never sure if they were solo records that you played everything or if they were a band. So was it the same bass player and drummer on a lot of that stuff?
No, I never played the drums usually. I mean, where it isn't a drum machine of some sort with a bit of added percussion from me. No, there's Lowell plays drums and a bloke called Ishiro Tatsuhara, a Japanese drummer, and another bloke called Norman Marsh, who played in the studio, and John Parrish played on Ilya Kuryakin, looked at me, and I think he might have played on Victoria Gray as well, Living with Victoria Gray. The studio one we did, the second studio one on Going to England, and he was pretty good. You've ever heard of PJ Harvey?
Yeah, of course.
Polly Harvey, yeah. He's her main man. He's usually, if she's ever playing live gigs, he's usually out there playing guitar with her, but he can play drums and he can produce records.
Wow.
He's a good guy. I haven't seen him for about 30 years, but my memories of him are really good.
And who was playing?
With the Cleaners.
Who was playing the homemade bass?
Oh, mostly when you hear a Cleaners record, mostly it's me playing bass. Because bass is kind of like my hobby, and I was not expecting to play bass on The Greatest Living Englishman. Colin Moulding was going to do that from XTC.
Right.
So that was going to be Colin Moulding had been assigned the bass chores, but he and Andy I don't know what the excuse was, whether Colin was doing something else or whether he just was going through one of the periods of him and Andy not getting on. But it ended up he couldn't do it, and I said to Andy, well, probably under supervision I could play bass because I'm not a bad bass player. because
not
I've
at
had
all.
to-
You're not.
No, we
This-
love your bass. We were
that's-
talking about it all morning.
Yeah, bass playing's my hobby. I told Andy that. I said, well, bass playing's like my hobby. And then after I'd done a couple of numbers, because he said, no, this is all right, you'll do, kind of thing. He didn't make a big fuss about me, like, that you need to practice more. Nor did he say you're fucking brilliant. We just did the bass parts. And I listened to the bass parts on Great Stimming Englishman and think, actually, they're quite good bass parts. But I did say to him, if we're doing the bass parts for Great Stimming Englishman, can I do them all in one batch? So that, during the days we're doing them, I'm just doing bass, because that's when I'll be good. Because if I had to do bass, then think I'm going back to 12-string for a bit. Oh, no, we're doing vocals next week. So I just wanted to I just said, let me be the bass player now, and I will be the bass player, and I'll be the best bass player I can. So that's what we did. And he rigged the bass up, got an old Fender Precision, I think it was. And he did something really weird with it. He put a load of foam rubber
Yep.
somewhere under the bridge.
Yep.
Between the second pickup and the bridge. And I think he did, and he gaffed it down. It looked very ugly, but it did something that was pleasing to him in the studio, because Andy Partridge has the hearing of a bat. He's fucking good.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I'd heard all these stories about what a bossy boots he was, and how but I never found that. I got on with him like a house on fire. I said, look, you be the chief, I'll be the Indians. And that's it, because that's his job and this is my job. So, and we got on fine. I only held out a veto twice because he asked me I think it was a song called She Rings the Changes. At the beginning, he said, you could put a diminished in there. And I said, well, instead of the D, he said, well, it might make it more interesting. I said, I'll tell you what it'd make it sound like. It'd make it sound like an XTC song. And I said, we're not making an XTC. Yeah. I said, we're not making an XTC album. And he said, that's fair enough. And he wore that. There was another thing where there was a very high harmony, which I simply couldn't do. And there was another harmony he wanted me to put in. And he said, can't you do that one? I said, no, it's not that I couldn't do it. It's just that I wouldn't do it. It's not something I'd ever do, because it wouldn't sound like me. That's not the sort of harmony I'd ever put in.
So did he do it instead?
No, he didn't. No, he just accepted that, because everything else, he said, let's do this. And I thought, oh, that could, even if I thought it was a bit iffy, I thought, we'll try that. Because he had a thing where he'd get me to sing a voice on the octave underneath it, or very quietly, to fatten it up. To this day, it's something that I don't do, but I did it for that album, and it does seem to work. He had a vision for the album, and that's what we did. And it worked, and I was really sorry when we finished it, because we'd had a really great time. And he would tell you the same thing. In fact, he only did one interview a few months ago for a film documentary, which you will see. Captured Tracks of organising a documentary about this.
Oh, I'm excited to see that.
What's the title of it?
No, it's not news yet. We don't know what the title is.
Okay.
It might just be, I think it might be called The Jangling Man.
Ah,
wow.
I like that tune.
Well,
And there's another film, there's another documentary that has been made as well, but I'm not at liberty to discuss it, but it's rather darker. It goes more into my my psychological problems.
Sure.
Or how people say, because I've upset a few people in my time, not by being rude to them, but by just probably, I would say, if you were ever going to write a book about me, you'd call it The Boy Who Wouldn't Eat His Lovely Fame. Here's your lovely plate of fame, eat it up, we'll give you some money. I said, but what do you do with a guy who doesn't want fame or money?
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Martin? You don't have anything to worry about. Nobody listens to this podcast, so
Well, that's all right.
yeah. So you'll be
That's probably
safe.
why I'm doing it.
Yeah, we're very well established. It's been going since January this year, but we've been in production since last September.
Have you had any enthusiastic reactions from your two listeners yet?
Oh yeah, I even got a kiss on the cheek. So doing
right.
pretty well.
So was it from a woman?
Oh no, it was from Miles here, the engineer.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing I get.
Yeah, no, my wife
I don't
hasn't
get
even
that.
heard the show yet, and I've released 6 episodes. So.
Well, I'm sure it'll be all right because I do a podcast, but it's my. I don't know if you've ever heard any of my podcasts. They're about half an hour long, and I take about 7, 6, or somewhere between 6 and 8 tracks I like, and just talk about them a bit and why I like them.
Yeah, I've
Things that
listened
I
to a few of those. I enjoyed it.
There's some I play unusual things that aren't. That's why they're called oddcasts. They're things that you might not necessarily stuff that you don't hear on the radio usually, or not
Exactly.
enough.
Sure.
Yeah, I think anyone who likes this program would probably do themselves a favor to listen to yours. So everybody probably is that's posted through Mixcloud. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, Mixcloud. It's beginning to build up a bit now, But I try. I tell you, I keep hearing stories that cleaners and me are getting reasonably well known now. That's happened. I'm beginning to believe it as well because actually sometimes it's accompanied by some royalty checks and things. But I'm determined to run it my own way.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go to the parties. You don't have to, accept all this stuff and do all the stupid stuff. You don't have to do it. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm pretty long in the tooth now to be tempted by any of this stuff. So, and not only that, but I think they're all being bloody late if they're going to start giving me accolades now. So,
Yeah.
what I do is the thing is that I've said, which is a guaranteed annoyance factor, is because I believe it is I don't acknowledge their judgment or authority. Otherwise, they'd have recognised me, when I was 25 years old or something.
So
think
what's
that's a good
your
policy.
what's your game plan for this new album that you shared with us?
Well, I want to do something. In that case, I'll send you the other new track that I've finished today. I want to do something slightly different. I want to have my songs, but not necessarily. I could make you a Cleaners album, probably tomorrow, and I know we'll put some jangly guitar in here, and we'll come in here with a bit of poignancy, and I'll tell everybody about how much I miss the railway stations that have gone. And
Yeah.
there's a joke about how many folk singers does it take to change a light bulb. Yeah, do you know this one?
No.
No.
How many folk singers does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
5. 1 to change the light bulb, and 4 to sing about how much they miss the old one.
That's good. Yeah.
Oh, that's
How many goths did it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
None. They'd all rather just see in the dark.
You're displaying a lot of talents today. So you
And
gave us
how-
at least 4 cartoon voices.
How many bass guitarists does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
Only 1, but the guitarist has to show him first.
Oh. I think I might have heard that one before. But or I can relate. How about that?
Well, yeah. So, do I have is there a game plan? I just want to carry on doing what I'm doing because how old am I? I'm 60. I'm in the middle of the 60s. On Bandcamp, there's a site on Bandcamp, and they asked me for a biography of the band. A very short one. They only give you a few words. So I wrote, if you can go and check it, it says, the Cleaners from Venus are these 4 65-year-old guys, and they all dress the same and have the same hairdos, and they live, in a house together and have loads of adventures. And at the end of every episode, they get chased down the street by a bunch of 56-year-old women, Each of them has a crush on one of the old guys in the band, And that's the biography of the Cleaners from Venus.
I would see that's what we were going for. We wanted to present the biography, and here we are.
So that's it. Cleaners from Venus are 65-year-old guys. They all have the same sort of balding problem, and they all live in a house together and get into adventures and get chased at the end of the day by sort of long post-menopausal women.
You know, I saw
old
this
fancy
really
one.
cool hairdo you could try out, where you grow it pretty long in the back, and then you pull it forward and roll it underneath.
Well, I would call that the Perry comb over.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Well, hopefully,
Perry
we'll
comb over.
look for that in the new music video. And are you going to do any music videos? Do you like to do that ever?
No, but there are a couple of films. I'm not fond of spending. You know, I think when I was with a one record company in London who was mainly, they said, well, we're going to spend £25,000 on the video. Now, this was around about the time of Live Aid. It was 1985, and I just thought, £25,000? That is an awful lot of Ethiopian breakfasts.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got to do a video. They're all doing videos. But nowadays, you could make a video pretty cheap.
Right.
In fact, if you ever check out Newell TV, I have made videos. They're not music videos, but they're me clowning around, you know, for the camera. You know, 250 quid camcorder, because my partner has she's reasonably good at editing things. She used to teach media and teach people how to use camcorders and films and things. So she's very talented. So we made these kind of spoof videos. But but there'll be two films out.
That's
Two
great.
films out, I hope, in the next few months. And one of them will be called The Jangling Man, and the other one I can't give you the name of, but it's quite arty. But they're both documentaries.
Well, Martin, your stuff is sounding fresh as ever. Just very tasteful and youthful.
What's your recording setup nowadays? Like, you know, you were using 4 tracks.
I'm using. Well, I was using a Pocket Studio, a Tascam Pocket Studio, but the last album, which is a big improvement, because I was getting frustrated with 4-track finally, after 80 years or something, and I'm using a Tascam a DP 350. It's an 8-track, so I'm now officially mid-fi rather than lo-fi.
All right.
But if you listen to the new album, or the last album, which was Life in a Time Machine, you can catch up with it on Bandcamp or Spotify or something like that. That was a major upgrade. But there are other cleanest things where we've been in 24-track studios, so we have used big studios. But Andy Partridge, when we made that album, The Greatest of Innings, but that was on an 8-track. But it was a very good 8-track with a very good producer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played the title track from Life in a Time Machine, and it sounds terrific. So I really like the direction you're taking stuff.
The title track from what?
From what was it Life in a Time Machine?
Oh yes, yeah. There's a really good video of that as well. You can find it on the Cleaners from Venus page.
Oh, okay.
On the web page, it's pinned. It's the main pin up there, so you get to it. It's by a lady called Jodie Lover. And she's brilliant. She's like us. She does things at home, you know, that's all. But she's done this really brilliant little psychedelic video for Life in a Time Machine, and you can get a link to it easily enough.
Well, Martin, it's been terrific talking to you. I think we might wrap it up.
Yeah, you better hang, because you're going to be 4 years editing it otherwise.
This will come out sometime in the next decade.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's cool, yeah. If I'm still alive. If not, I'll give you a list of my dependents to send it to.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to... You didn't title your upcoming
You
album,
look forward.
did you?
I increasingly look backwards, you know?
Yeah, we have a lot of catching up to do as well. So we'll hit the rewind button before we...
I will send you one more track. I will send you one more track. But if you want to see that really good animated video, that's on the Cleaners from Venus page, as opposed to my Facebook account. Cleaners from Venus Facebook page.
Okay, great.
Yeah, as opposed to my status.
All right.
Okay.
We're gonna go take a look at that right now.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll send you a track. All right. Bye-bye now.
Sounds great.
It was
Hey,
great talking to you, Martin.
great time. Thanks for all the stories
Yeah,
and
thank you.
the laughs and the insight. And come on over for coffee whenever you feel like it. Doors
As
open.
soon as they fix the teleportation machine, I'll be there.
Sounds good. All right.
Last Wednesday.
Sounds
Bye-bye
good.
now.
All right, see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Step in this way, it's up these stairs. The tale is very old, but it's a great one. This was the place where it began. We never had a script, and so we had to make one. The sun in spring across the floor. Back then we still had everything to play for. Johnny tomorrow, southern to sorrow. You hang around my door when love has gone. This room, that year, the diamond days. Her standing on the landing in a cham song. Until a chill one evening late, when August held the summer up to ransom. And then the day I packed my case, got on my way, my fateful way. Johnny tomorrow, southern to sorrow. You hang around my door when love has gone. Johnny tomorrow, no time to borrow. A tricky customer you are to me. Johnny tomorrow, Johnny tomorrow. A tricky customer you are to me.
Well, that was the world premiere of the Cleaners from Venus track, Johnny Tomorrow, from an upcoming album. I don't know when it's coming out, but in the meantime, we have a lot of back catalog to check out. So please enjoy Cleaners from Venus in your leisure time. It was sure fun talking to Martin Newell, our first international guest on the show. And I want to thank Eli and Andrew for joining Miles and I on this conversation. Next time around, we'll be interviewing another musician from abroad, Jamaica's own Susan Cadogan.
First you take my heart in the palm of your hand and squeeze it tight. Then you take my mind and play with it all night. You take my pride and you throw it up against the wall. You take me in your arms, baby, and bounce me like a ball. Well, I'm not complaining what you're doing, you see, 'cause there's heading
some top 10 singles in Europe back in the early 70s, thanks in no small part to reggae's legendary powerhouse producer Lee Scratch Perry. And she continues to record and perform today. Matter of fact, as of the release of this episode, she's about to begin a European tour. I've been sleuthing to find out more about her for years, and I'm pleased to say that we got to sit and talk to her, and we had a great time. And I'm very excited to say that by then, my family will have a new third child in the mix. And when people ask me, is it a girl or a boy? I simply say, I think so. Hey, please, if you're enjoying this podcast, let me know by leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you listen. And if you shoot me an email, I'll even send you some merchandise free of charge. I got stickers and buttons for you. There's a link to Patreon. We have an account there on our website, lowprofilepodcast.com. If you want to shoot us a few bucks once in a while or one time ever, it'd be really nice. And, be helping out. We'll catch you right here in a few weeks. Enjoy your summer.